toys and TV shows, comics and collecting and superheroes. There's no end to the useless stuff they know. But don't call them geeks, they're just regular Joes.
Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
I'm Todd Pleasant.
I'm Derryl DePriest.
And I'm Sean Huxter.
We have guests, and they're a little bit different guests.
We mixed up a little bit.
Different. Sean, welcome. We haven't talked to you in a while.
No, it's been a while.
At least on
the show,
on radio.
On the show, yeah. I've been on this, but way a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been too long, so we're happy to have you back.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah,
and Daryl's here too. We don't want to not mention Derryl.
The rarely here but frequently name dropped Sean.
That's true.
Oh yeah, especially when he credits you for making him watch Ted Lasso.
He was the one
who which is
the clip.
Such
he did.
BS.
Darryl and I talked about this. Yeah, it's like
we must have said
you guys tried to convince him for years, and then I said, "Hey, why don't you watch Ted Lasso?" And the next thing you know, he's watching all of Ted Lasso
on and off the podcast. By the way, it's not like we only ever talked about it here.
I know.
You have extraordinary influence, Sean.
Extraordinary.
I do. Extraordinary.
Some of the best shows I have seen have begun because Sean has suggested them. So he's like my TV whisperer.
Like Slow Horses.
So. I think I've watched a bunch.
Slow Horses.
Okay,
I think I've watched a bunch because Sean suggested him. You guys mentioned him on the show, and then I picked him up as well. Yep. So thanks, Sean.
What can I say? I got great taste. But then so do you guys. I watch a lot of shows because you mentioned them. So.
And I just buy a lot of stuff because you guys convince me.
There you go.
Well, we all do that.
Cycle, people.
We all do that, Barry.
Yeah, it's just a circle of enablement.
No. I know. I didn't get to show you. I didn't show you the Bo-Katan when Barry came to my house because he had to be nearby and didn't even come to the toy room.
I was thinking about it after I left. I'm like, I should at least have gone to check out the Bo-Katan figure, if nothing else.
Well, I've got an inch-tall Bo-Katan figure right here, but that's for what's in the box later.
That's the first time I've ever been to your house that we didn't end up in the toy room.
I know. Well, you want to know something? That is something we keep in the bank to hold over the wives' heads. Like, well, the last time we were here, we didn't even, all we did was talk normal people stuff.
Yeah, we talked about family stuff and parents and all that stuff.
What's with that?
That was our opportunity to scooch off and go to the toy room, but never did.
We'll bank that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about Toylanta, or some of us will. Derryl and Sean were in Toylanta, which is in Atlanta, and it's about toys. Then we'll talk about Mando. I know we're talking about this every week, but it's valid to talk about every week. So we're going to talk about Mando.
It's good. We have to talk about it.
And Picard. Derryl, there will be spoilers. So we usually say that only for you, but there will be spoilers.
But we know you haven't been watching Picard, so hopefully you're okay with it.
It'll be a big spoiler.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that would be fine.
My memory is so short, Barry. When I actually subscribe to Paramount Plus and watch it, it'll all be new.
Well, if you start from the beginning of a Picard, you'll be so just inundated with boredom that you'll forget.
So let me just help you here. Skip the first 2 seasons entirely.
Oh no!
You want
to watch the recap of the first 2 seasons and then jump in because
because otherwise you'd be like, "Who's this Rafi character?" Otherwise, you'll know everybody.
Yeah. Why do I dislike her?
Who is this Rafi character anyway?
Yeah. Anyway, let's go random. We'll try to keep a tight random. Todd, clock is ticking.
Okay. Liv Tyler has been cast in Marvel Studios' Captain America: New World Order, and she will be Betty Ross again, which she was in the 2008 Hulk film, which is
first Hulk,
not technically second Hulk, but not technically in the MCU because it was connected. There was connecting tissue, but it wasn't.
That's not true. They consider that the first MCU movie.
Really?
I read this book right here.
Not Iron Man? Really?
No.
Okay. They consider
retroactively they do.
Yeah.
Okay. Chronologically they do. It is not a Marvel Studios film.
I beg to differ. It's in the book. Marvel Studios, the first 20 years.
It was a Universal produced film.
Really? It's a Universal.
Universal produced, but it was under the thing. Anyway, so that's interesting.
There was cooperation, but it was not it was not Marvel driven.
Could say the same thing about the Spider-Man movies, but
in any case,
I think they've embraced it retroactively because it wasn't as horrible as.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, the other thing is they also in essentially post production they created the link
and 30 seconds.
They created the link between the two. No, this is a rebuttal. Okay, they created the link between the two with the Tony Stark crossover. Interestingly, William Hurt was the crossover from that movie into the MCU because they brought him in as Thunderbolt Ross, continued that character. Now he's going to be played by Harrison Ford because William Hurt has passed away, and now Betty Ross is coming over.
They should have gotten.
They should have grabbed her from the start.
Jennifer, what's her name?
Oh, Jennifer Connelly.
Connelly.
That would have really.
Or someone completely different.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm afraid of that movie. I'm so incredibly afraid of that movie. But
we shall see.
If it's anything like the TV series, it's doomed. Okay.
Set your expectations low, Dave, and then you might be...
Well, they've been lowered since the past couple movies.
For Marvel in general, I think our expectations have to be lowered, which pains me to say that, but there hasn't been a lot of shining lights.
Next one's going to pull it out. So.
Oh, no, the next one's going to be good, but I feel it won't be as connected.
But the next one to me is not. It's like a continuation of the previous phases because it's the same characters and it's James Gunn and I have a lot more faith
for
in
the
that.
audience.
Kind of like Thor: Love and Thunder.
You're talking about Guardians.
Talking about Guardians 3, yeah.
Anyway, okay, who wants to go next? Raise your hand.
I'll go.
Okay, no one raised their hand. Barry?
I'll go. I raised my voice. So we were talking, I don't think it was last week, I think it was the show before, we were talking about upcoming Star Wars movie projects and things that had been announced
I knew you
and things that hadn't been announced.
Yeah.
Right? And then the last time we talked about it, we were like, well, at least there's still the Damon Lindelof movie. So since that time, Lindelof is now out. He and Justin Britt Gibson delivered their script and then walked away. And here's the quote from Lindelof. He gave this quote to Slash Film. He said, "I will just say that for reasons I cannot get into this Sunday morning, on this day, the degree of difficulty is extremely, extremely, extremely high. If it can't be great, it shouldn't exist. That's all I'll say, because I have the same association with it that you do, which is it was the first movie I saw sitting in my dad's lap, 4 years old, May of 1977. I think it's possible that sometimes you hold something in such high reverence and esteem, you start to get in the kitchen and you just go, maybe I shouldn't be cooking. Maybe I should just eat." And then he said,
so he thought his script sucked?
I think he felt like whatever it was that they, and whether it's his own script or whether it was the constraints put on his script or
I'm voting
something.
That.
I think he does not want to be Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he does not want to. He doesn't want to do a formulaic Star Wars movie, but he also doesn't want to get called out for taking in a direction that people aren't happy with because
and
they want.
He's really good friends with J.J. Abrams, and I wouldn't be surprised if J.J. Abrams was like, "Dude, this is not the right career movie."
Especially with all the
like it's radioactive
expectations now that everyone's sort of fallen away. And whoever does it next is really going to have a microscope on them.
So they're saying that Stephen Knight, who's the creator of Peaky Blinders, which I'll admit I've never seen, is now come in to be the writer. And we don't know if it's to take the script that Lindelof delivered and edit it, or if they're scrapping that and coming up with a whole new story. We really don't know. But the director is apparently still attached.
Who's that?
I'm going to butcher this. Charmin Obida Chinoy?
Oh, yeah. I don't know who that is.
But yet it's supposed to come out December 19th, 2025. So.
Oh, boy. Okay. Good luck with that.
I'm a fan of Lindelof, of more of his stuff than not. But if he felt like he needed to walk away, then he needed to walk away.
So I think Peaky Blinders was great. I think if they set the next Star Wars movie in Birmingham in the 1920s, it will be brilliant. And he can deliver. I don't know if that means he can make a good Star Wars film. So,
well, Todd, I know you agree with me on this. I don't know I know Dave's never seen it. I don't know if Derryl or Sean have, but Lindelof's Watchmen was spectacular.
Fantastic.
I mean,
Fantastic.
amazing, right? So we know what he's capable of.
Loved every minute of all of it, including the long version. I love it all.
Okay.
You know, I wonder, and that's the thing. That actually would make him good to do a Star Wars film, because he took something that was that precious and made something separate and adjacent to it that didn't detract from the original in any way. So,
But you're talking a Star Wars film,
yeah,
right? That has such a big target on it, and the chances of downside if you don't have
Oh, I agree.
like a
And it's
completely
also-
original great story. JJ's been burned on
Yeah.
Star Wars.
I would love to see a Lindelof helmed Star Wars series.
Yeah.
I think he could do something amazing with that.
I think that's I would love to see that. I think we're all there, but a film is a very tough thing right now, and I understand why. If he didn't have the perfect story, I understand why there'd be a lot of hesitancy on his part.
It's going to be, I will say, given the breathing space that the television shows have had, the streaming series has had, it's going to be hard to tighten up a Star Wars film for a Star Wars film story for a film at this point.
Well,
I
and
agree.
especially
Particularly
because
if you've
they've
got to
said that
introduce characters.
Well,
I agree.
but they also said that they're most likely going to make a movie that, if it does well, can be a series of movies, but they're not going into it saying it's a trilogy. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
you've got to basically make a self-contained story too.
The
Well, I
challenge
mean-
of introducing new characters when the new characters we've been introduced to have been played out over weeks and weeks and weeks, it's going to, I mean, you're actually kind of taking it down a notch.
I mean, the only successful Star Wars movie that we've had, I think, Todd, I think you share the same viewpoint, that we've had in the modern era is Rogue One,
I agree.
right? And that danced around pre-existing beginning and end points, and it told us a story in that white space, but it was also very constrained.
But
Right.
also not, that's actually a really good example. Barry, I would say that is more similar to Lindelof's Watchmen series than anything. They took all these things that existed that you knew about and then interwove things into it without diminishing the original story in any way. And
So
that's
it was
that's a tough thing
complementary rather than
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there were also
that's a
some
tough thing to
rumors-
do again.
There were rumors out there that the story wasn't all new characters, but that it was incorporating some of the sequel trilogy characters. They didn't say who, but potentially you could have seen Rey back or one or two of the others back. So,
Well, I don't
know.
think we'll see anytime soon.
It'll be interesting to see if they actually announce anything new at all at Star Wars Celebration, because I think the thinking was they were going to, but I
No
would
way.
be shocked
I can't
now if they
imagine.
do.
I can't wait to see what they have at
They're
Celebration.
in a tough place right now because the original era is done and settled and over. Okay. Where TV is very much tied in the in-between era. Okay. And then they've kind of wrapped up the sequel era. So either they're going to start a fourth thing entirely, go further back, but it's it's confusing, and it's going to be complicated to figure out where
They
you
got to
want to
figure
place
out where they're going to go, and I don't even know where I'd like them to go.
And I don't even know how much. I mean, I clearly they've got a lot in the hopper for Disney Plus. I mean, we know there's more. We pretty much know the roadmap for the next 2 years of what's coming on the TV side, but I don't necessarily think that all of these original series are bringing in tons of new subscribers either. They got the people that subscribed, and those people keep their subscriptions going, but they're not bringing in new subscriptions in droves yet. So
isn't it about
how
keeping
many
people, Barry?
It is about keeping people, and they had pretty
it's
good
about
growth.
keeping people, but it's about if they're spending this much money, they want to continue to grow it too, and they're not really growing at that
But
rate.
then they need other franchises.
It
because
is
they've got
a
the Marvel
push towards
people, they've got
profitability.
they've got the
Just
Star Wars
increase
people.
the cost. That's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
So
speaking of-
it's just the reason I bring that point up though is that how many more years are they going to keep spending at the rate they're spending to keep this many shows in the hopper if they're not bringing in more people?
That's the
But
big
it's-
industry challenge right now, isn't it,
Yeah.
Barry?
I
Which
mean,
is that
They're all
is
paying. Everybody that's there though is paying, It's not like it's a
But it's not profitable yet.
It really isn't.
No,
They're spending network.
Some
or
is.
the
I
streaming
feel like they have
services
the
are
best
spending
chance
too
to be
much.
profitable.
They do. But my point is, we're getting 3 or 4 Star Wars shows a year, 3 or 4 Marvel shows a year. At some point, are they going to have to scale that back because they're not going to be able to keep spending that kind of money?
Well, I would also think it's going to be more economical to make those once you establish those, right? Getting your first season of Mandalorian out was probably a lot more difficult than getting this season out, production-wise. And yeah,
I also don't think they're making Lord of the Rings $8 billion shows. They're not being foolish like that either. Can I ask a question? How many cats are there? They all look the same. There's 3. First, I'm like, oh, there's 1. It's like the Prestige. There's just 1 million cats running around at the end.
There's 3. 2 are siblings that we adopted 4 years ago, just before the pandemic started, and 1 is a 12 or 13-year-old long-haired tabby who looks a lot like them.
Okay, they all are very, very nice. Thank
They're
you.
beautiful.
Thanks
They're
for sharing
lovely
your cats
animals.
with us. My cat looks a lot like that cat.
That's what Zoom is for. It's
and
not
what's
for
the
meetings.
what's the
It's for
pink
cats.
one? The pink one next to it. What kind is that?
The pink one is the tribble that Dave sent.
Tribble.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along. Daryl or Sean, did you have any random?
I'll take the next one because it's related to it's tagged right on to Disney and the decisions to maybe scale back on the projects they have. But a few months ago, it was reported that there's an Indiana Jones spin-off series in the works on Disney Plus. Well, now it seems like all of that's all been scuttled. That's all been put aside, and there's no Indiana Jones series coming. What's a little bit different, because the same thing was reported with Willow, that the Willow series was canceled, and then the creators actually came out and said, "Well, we're not dead yet."
Oh yeah, they are.
You got to say that with a British accent. There, we're not dead yet.
We're not dead yet. Look, it's just a flesh wound. That we'll see if the creators say that for Indiana Jones as well. But it does seem like it's kind of dead. I don't think that says anything about the movie or their expectations for the movie. I think this might be a casualty of what we were just touching on, which is where everywhere streamers and the massive money that's been put into new series, it's not paying off for everyone.
Everyone's cutting back.
I think there's a more reasonable explanation than that. I think the principal cast member just won an Academy Award, and he said, "Yeah, I'm not doing that now." So
I don't know, because I don't think he has anything.
Come on, how cool would a short round series have been?
I feel like they gotta. Wouldn't you at least wait to see what the movie does?
That's what I would say too.
Before you, Disney or Lucasfilm is famous for just announcing everything and not like sitting back and waiting.
Development on something, but don't pull the trigger on it until you see how well the movie does and all the merchandising that's going on around it.
You gotta.
I think
it's almost like there's somebody walking around saying, "If we don't have buzz, we're dead." So you've got to announce something. But these retractions are just like insane.
That's the killer.
Indy has always been a niche property in the Lucasfilm portfolio. It's certainly from merchandising is like almost nothing. So I don't know if Disney is very franchise focused, and when they look at franchises, they look at the total merchandising possibility of those franchises. So this is an easy one, just like Willow for me. It's like, let's shelve this until, I think, Dave, you just said it, until, like, if Indy takes off and it appeals to all demographics and blah, 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 blah. If they build something here that's like a,
as much as we love it, Indy may very well be for 40 and 50-year-old men. I mean,
think so.
Star Wars, they certainly, with the prequels and the sequels, they dragged other people in. I mean, obviously, and it's got more broad appeal. Indy may not, as much as we love it. It just, I don't get it. It just may.
So, Daryl, I got to ask you a question, though. I mean, and I say this with utmost respect. You helmed an Indiana Jones toy line that was outstanding, but ultimately not a huge success, right? Is that?
Yeah, correct.
How you would position that? So now there's an entire huge push of merchandising coming out. I mean, it's already hitting.
I think
store
that's
shelves,
collector
action figures
market
and Lego
stuff.
sets, and
It's collector market. and
That's
it's-
collector
it's-
market.
but there's
think
kid
that's-
stuff. There's stuff targeted directly at kids,
Right.
not collectors.
I think they do it.
Why, but my
it's-
question is, why would they do it again, knowing that it didn't work?
Oh, okay, bingo,
15 years
Barry,
ago.
you hit it. So here I am. I'm about to go off the rails. Sean, stay on your rails.
I'm on.
About to go off. So Barry, the reason why there's a big, well, at least Hasbro's putting some effort into Indiana Jones. The reason they're doing that is because they don't want anyone else to do anything that's related to a Lucasfilm franchise, right? They're doing it kind of because they want to take it off the market and not have anybody else do it. So when you do that, you can kind of control your own fate. Like, how much do you put in the market? You know, you don't want to get too exposed. I'm really curious at what's going to go to mass retail, because what we did in 2000, it's really been 15 years.
Yep.
8.
Yeah, it's really been 15 years since 2008. So what we did was very calculated. You know, we made some whips and some hats and then figures and things like that. But we tried not to release too much of it. At the end of the day, I think our sales organization got a little too excited about the initial results of our line, which were very collector focused at the pounce when we launched, and they overcommitted, right? They thought they could get a lot more mileage out of Indy, when really at the end of the day, very collector focused brand, very fan focused brand. Same thing is playing out today. Like, there are very few kids who know or appreciate or like Indy, and I think the way that movies are being served up in the theater, anymore, it's not generating it's not going to generate a significant kid audience that's going to reposition Indy as like a must play toy franchise for the next X years. So
Yeah, I
I'd
mean,
be
don't
very
get me
careful
wrong, I
about
love
what
to
they're
see
putting.
the retro stuff coming out. I mean, I'm not necessarily excited about buying it, but it's cool to see it. And they've got the 6-inch action figure line, and they announced more retro figures that were never made. Like, they're announcing all kinds of things that I think they're clearly collector market focused. But then I see those, and I don't even know what they're called, but like the adventure line where they're like the little kids' toys and the whips, and like, seems like they're making a push, but.
Yep.
They're
But
checking
I think
a box. You're checking a box.
I think they're making a good effort for a Lucasfilm franchise to show that they're a great partner. But how much they release of that stuff, I would be very cautious based on experience.
Yeah.
And that was 15 years ago, when it was different, where you actually had 6 to 10-year-olds playing action figures.
And you had stores that kids could go to and buy them at.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, the
Physical
retail
stores
landscape
are-
is totally different.
Yeah, I think, as you were saying, Derryl, what you really don't want is them saying, "Oh, well, we'll just let McFarlane handle this toy line
Correct.
and see how that goes," because you don't want them to. Hasbro doesn't want people to see them doing a good job with it.
Well, not for
Correct.
nothing. I have all the 12-inch figures from that era, as well as the Lost Ark mail away and the Crystal Skull Throne Room mail away. So I very much appreciate it. But then I'm a collector.
Yep.
The
You're a
Lost
fan.
Ark
I have
mail
every
away is
figure
awesome.
from that line in boxes in my attic at the moment.
There you
But I have them all. They're awesome. They're so well done. But
One of my favorite experiences ever is doing that toy line. But it's still, as much as I wanted to will it to be bigger than it was, it is a confined toy line, because the relatability of the franchise to a kid for role play is very limited compared to being a Jedi Knight.
And I know we've gone long, Dave, but I just got to
Yes.
follow up on one thing that Derryl said. I would argue, and I'm the Willow fan of the group
God.
here, but I would argue that Indy is a far more marketable franchise than Willow ever was. And the fact that we got a Willow series, but they're shelving the Indy series, it's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if
that
they're
was
shelving it and
personality-driven.
retooling it with Short Round. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay, switching gears, and mine will be quick. Barry, I think privately you texted us pictures of someone that made something that made us consider going to see the new Shazam movie. But I found it funny, and I wasn't really paying that much attention. So last night I watched the original, was on TV.
Yep.
So the girl who plays Mary Marvel, or the daughter or the sister had as everyone else had someone else playing
an adult
them
counterpart as the superhero
at different places, and it was the one who played Mary Marvel was this girl who used to be on not Magnum PI, the other Hawaii Five-0. Anyway, but in this show, she's the only one that plays both roles.
Yes,
so the girl you sent us the picture of was
to that point where
they recast the actress. It's a different actress.
No, they recast the grown-up Mary, but it's the same girl who played the human version, and now in this new movie she plays both.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting.
Now, in the comics,
we
historically,
don't want to hear about the comics.
Okay.
We don't have time for that.
I know you don't care. In the comics, historically, Mary is the only one who is age accurate to her character. So Billy and Freddie are kids who like become adults when they say the magic word. Mary looks just like Mary, but she gets a costume.
That's right.
Yeah. And so this is now in sync with that. I hope that was.
She's old enough to think the little girl who was in the old show is hot enough to look at now, even though she was like 17 last time.
Exactly. Yeah.
She's like 20 now. But that's interesting. I thought that was interesting because I'm like, wait a second. They recast the girl, but it looks like the other girl, and then it all.
These
so
are
she's
supposed
now
to be
playing
adult
both.
versions of what they're idealized adult versions. So
You know who I idolize? That's not the word you said. Fanboy Collectibles.
Oh yeah,
nice.
If you want a Star Ace Grief Karga, all you got to do is buy Star Ace Apollo Creed and give him a little bit of a haircut. So that's
a little Dremel work.
Yeah. But there's that. There's a Hot Toys Kang. Troy said it's okay to say we're not into things. I don't know about that one.
That Kang looks fantastic.
As a figure, it looks remarkably
amazing.
Great.
Okay.
My prediction is, I hope, that we're all going to say, geez, I wish I bought that first Kang, like we did with many other figures.
I will say the movable eyes in that thing look better in that figure than any of the other figures they've offered that in. Because the facial expressions are just great in those pictures.
Plenty of giant. I wrote the initials down. Gentle Giant. Star Wars statues, Marvel statues.
Gentle Giant.
Derryl, what else do they have?
They have Pops, Dave.
Yes,
lots of Pops, and I think they're carrying a fine selection of Hasbro products now.
Yes,
right.
Kotobuki is in Sideshow.
Yeah, Kotobukai's too.
Kotobuki's. Check all that stuff out. FlamboyCollectibles.com.
If you want your own Mando helmet, he's got those in stock.
Yeah.
And Todd, you and I were talking today. They're carrying the 4-inch Judge Dredd Hayas,
which are very, very cool.
They're really cool.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Shop a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right.
Really cool.
Check them out at the store in Newtown, Connecticut. Tell the regular Joe send you. And thank you, Troy, for I know you're pushing us on your social media platforms as you listen while you're in the store doing whatever you do there, inventory and all kinds of great stuff.
Shipping a lot of stuff.
All to Todd.
All right, so you cut me off before the commercial. I was about to make one more comment about Shazam. It does sound like it's coming to digital and to HBO Max much sooner than would have been expected.
Like much sooner than 6 weeks?
Like next week.
Like I think it's coming to digital really fast, and it's not going to be on Disney HBO Max that fast. But the article I read said that basically they were trying to make the case that it was like Warner Brothers was just abandoning it, like it didn't do well, and they're just going to rush it.
That's too bad. It got bad marketing. I would have gone to see it, but
the trailers were awful. They were just terrible.
The reviews were a lot better than it did, though.
The first one was fine. It's a fine
You didn't
movie.
go see it, Todd? I know you were saying you might.
No, I was going to. I didn't get around to it.
I went to go see John Wick.
Did
I won't talk about it here.
Okay, that's good. Because
let's not.
People
tomorrow,
are trying hard
I'm seeing
to
it
spoil
tomorrow.
Oh, are you good? We'll talk.
I am halfway through John Wick 2. I want to watch. I'm going to watch all 3 films. I've never seen them.
You wait, really?
I'm halfway through number 2.
You've never
did Sean recommend these two?
You know what my objection is to this
I
film,
understand,
okay?
but you sort of could fast forward.
I do not condone legal violence. Okay, so
you can fast forward. I mean,
I made it through the.
Ted
dog
Lasso
getting
killed a
killed.
dog as well, so you know.
That's true. We
It
talked
is
about
true.
that last week.
Okay.
That's fine.
So, anyways, I made it through that. Darwin sat in my lap through the whole thing. It was very rough, but we did it. I'm halfway through the second one right now. Okay. Does anyone know not to piss this dude off? Seriously. It's like, why would you screw with him?
Adrian Palicki didn't get it.
Oh my God. Perkins. Okay, by the way, I was really impressed by that first film, and we won't spend a lot of time on this, but that was the dumbest thing in the film. Okay.
Yep.
If you're going to shoot somebody, you don't surround her from 4 cardinal positions and fire at the same time, because you effing shoot each other. Okay. That was just dumb. Anyway,
John Wick is just the pistolmanship. Even in the new one, it's just the way he expels his mags is just fantastic.
It's
anyway,
pure unadulterated gun porn.
That's all I'm saying.
The whole series is so ridiculous.
I love it.
And I listened to an interview with the director yesterday, and they made a major effort to make sure that they reload the right way. And they've so much
got
effort.
Some of the best consultants there are on these series.
So much effort into what they call gun fu. It's pretty amazing.
I was trying to figure out how to describe the John Wick series to anybody else, and I came up with 5 words: stylish assassins killing each other.
Yes, yeah.
You got to give it to Keanu Reeves too. I mean, the amount of work, and he's probably the second hardest working man in show business after everybody knows.
Oh,
Tom Cruise.
Thank you. Yeah. And he's in they're both in their 50s, but the amount of work he does. Anyway, we'll talk about John Wick another time.
It's unbelievable.
Darryl, if you want to come back next week, we'll talk John Wick. Someone else will see it.
I will see it, but I will have seen it by then, because that's my goal. I want to see all 3 and then go to the 4th one.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good time.
Yeah,
it's a good time unless you're a woman, or at least my wife, because she's like, why are you making me watch this? I said, I warned you. People are getting shot. People are getting stabbed. Anyway, okay. Let's talk Toylanta. So Toylanta grew out of what something was called Joelanta.
That's right.
Years ago, which I think it still exists, but it started as that. And now it sort of happens twice a year. There's a Joelanta and a Toylanta. That's all I know about it.
I think it went from Joelanta, and then they expanded out to more generalized toy collecting, and then called it Toylanta. And it got so large that they split off another separate convention called Back to Joelanta, which is now going to focus mostly on G.I. Joe collecting.
It's going to be a general toy show.
It always kind of was, but
I went to the first Joelanta last fall, and it was pretty much the same dealers who were there at Toylanta, but it's just a way to kind of market it a little bit differently. So you have that their goal is to have shows 6 months apart, but this is I think the 4th or 5th Toylanta that I've been to. It is a fantastic show. They do such a great job. There's so many people there, buyers, dealers. I actually had a booth this year selling stuff. So my experience was a little different from Sean's, because Sean was more on the creator track and presenting. But I spent time talking to people like for 8 to 10 hours a day, in the dealer's room, and it was awesome. So not only is it great to be back at toy shows, but the vibe is so cool, and it's such a great time to collect anything, toys from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. And I came home with some gems and moved a lot of stuff, so I was really happy with the experience. So
how many dealers would you say were there? Like how big was it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Sean, what would you say? A couple hundred?
There's no way to count, because you had the main room was filled with booths, and then you had 3 or 4 other side rooms, and there was
it's big. Okay,
there were 5. There were 5 side rooms in addition to the giant room.
Oh,
They basically took every square inch of this Hilton property.
Yeah.
Oh, they were in the Hilton that has the Trader Vic's?
No. That's downtown Atlanta. So.
Okay.
I went to Trader Vic's. It was like 20 minutes away.
Oh, in a different Hilton, right?
A different Hilton. Yeah, different Hilton. So out in the suburbs, I guess. But
so I've been to 4 of these in total. Not 4 of Toylanta, but 4 conventions. I went to the Rhode Island G.I. Joe convention, where I met with you guys. I went to the Dallas G.I. Joe convention, where I met with you guys. I went to I can't remember which year, but I went to one Toylanta, and I was so drained and exhausted by the overwhelming everything of it that when I got back, I just sort of stopped doing 3D printing. I stopped doing anything. it just wore me out for some reason. But it was a great show, and I met people that I've seen online I've been talking to online since like the mid '90s. Sort of like '97 when I moved here. I moved here in '96. Around '99, I got into GI Joes, and then I started meeting people, and I've been talking with them, trading with them. I don't even know their real names, some of them, and we were talking all weekend. And this time I went down, and it was so much different, and it was all me. I mean, the show was basically the same, but I was more energized this time. I met up with so many people, chatting, talking, just talking about collectibles, and Derryl was there, and like a bunch of people I've known for many years had booths. It was still overwhelming in that there was so much to look at, but luckily my room was upstairs. So when I was overwhelmed, I just jumped on the elevator, went upstairs, and took a nap, and then I came back down and started again. And it was great. I came back this time all excited. So that's a good testament to just my state of mind, but also how wonderful that show is.
Well, I think from my perspective, so you're a maker, Sean, like you create 3D,
yeah,
cool 3D things in the adventure team realm and the sci-fi realm. I think from my perspective, what I see different from the show and evolving is this, the field is being, and these shows are being overtaken by fans creating stuff, whether it's dioramas, 3D printing, Cotswold Collectibles was there. There was a guy who was creating this amazing like papercraft products.
That's
that you could
Randall Wall.
You could update I've got one of those here. As a matter of
Randall Wall does amazing card models.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah,
started it by doing some small boxes and interesting play sets. But what Daryl's going to show you, for those out there who can see this, is for the old G.I. Joe wooden footlockers, Randy has created all these play sets that fit right inside the lockers.
Oh,
It's all
look at
card
that.
models.
I can't really show it here.
Go ahead,
That's
Derryl.
so
Talk it
cool.
up.
Yeah, but it's very difficult to show. The microphone's in the way. But basically, you can take your old footlockers and create 3D play sets. This is an Atomic Man, an Atomic Man like diagnostic center.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Complete with
it's all
robot
made of-
arm.
It's all made of paper you can put together. There's little cardboard robots and stuff you can make. It's
That's
And
awesome.
Randy's a professional, or was a professional graphics designer, so his graphics are legit. He does a couple that are meant to invoke the ATHQ, the AT headquarters, and you would not know the difference between the back panels and the back panels on the ATHQ. The style it's beautiful.
I think I brought this up because the exciting thing is stuff is showing up from fans who have ideas on how to forward the hobby, because it's not the main manufacturers who are basically creating new ideas. It's all fan driven, and it's more exciting than ever. It's so awesome. It's very I don't know, I guess very exciting, very entrepreneurial, and it's cool to see.
Another one is
doing other things beyond just dealer rooms. Is it like panels and other things too, or is it mostly just dealers? And
So there was one panel Friday night, and then Saturday was like 5 or 6 panels, and there were 2 on Sunday. So they did a lot of panels. Fairly small theater room, but they ranged from us talking about our what the state of the hobby is with what we're creating. It was Randall Wall was there, I was there, and Greg, who basically enables us all, and Steve Stovall, I think, and Jason, who were working on the new Super Joe line. That if you see it, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
And from the next day, like we had people from Kenner talking about the old Star Wars 12-inch line that they were doing in the 70s. It was really good.
Yep, there were multiple Star Wars presentations.
Yeah, there were 2 Star Wars presentations. There was one about wrestling. There was one about Mythic. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, Mythic Legions for the
Mythic
4
Legions,
Horsemen
yeah.
were there.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh wow, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's certainly grown. I mean, I think when it first started, it was mostly just a toy show. Which again, I don't mean that in a negative way. We love toy shows, but it sounds like it's bigger now. So I would love to go check it out.
I think it started out as an alternate to the G.I. Joe convention club conventions, and it was small. But now that they're gone, and then it kind of started growing anyway. But now that they're gone, they're the only show in town. So it is about as big as those were.
Probably in their heyday, because towards the end they were definitely smaller.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I've only been to 2, so I only have those to go by.
Yeah, a bunch of authors were there. Pixel Dan had his He-Man book, and and a whole bunch of other stuff. I bought a 3-pack of books on the toys that time forgot by I think let's see, what's his name? Wright, I think is his last name, but who also publishes a new toy magazine that's coming out, Toy Collector.
Jeez, magazine.
Wow, somebody's making an actual magazine
out of paper.
Yeah,
Wow.
out of paper.
Wow.
Paper magazine. I've
like
got
we're
mine
have to
in my.
support that to keep that going because
They're cheaper now, I guess, to print.
Yeah.
What was the coolest thing that you saw that you didn't buy? Or couldn't afford, or didn't want to spend the money, or
Well, I've been on a Shogun Warriors kick lately, so I bought one Shogun Warriors. Here, I'll show this.
There's just not a lot of people can say I've been on a Shogun Warriors kick lately.
You might be surprised.
Look at that! Wow.
I got Shogun Gai King, which is one I didn't have as a child. I didn't know about this one. Really nice condition, but I passed on one, Dave. I passed on a Godzilla.
Oh,
and I really regret it because it was a beautiful Godzilla. It was very pricey, and I didn't go back and negotiate because the price was like very high. But
how many Shoguns? Those were the ones released in the United States. How many were there?
There were, I think about 11 over.
I didn't realize there were that many.
3 different series. Yeah. There were quite
something
a few.
with the Godzilla you got to look for, like the heads are different material than the bodies or something? I remember there's something like that made some much more desirable than others because there's a big difference in the plastic and they fade or shrink or something. But
yep, that's right. You have to look for the tongue that works and the projectile.
They're very
fit.
cool though.
And then I got a Captain Action complete Aqualad, so I was very happy.
Oh,
about that.
nice.
Wow.
So that's my what's in the box.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll spread the what's in the boxes out throughout the show. Sean, what about you? What did you see, buy, not buy?
Well, I went to buy one thing, as many people do, I'm sure. And I wanted a fairly good Major Matt Mason helmet because I have the figure and the Moonwalker back here, but he has no helmet. I got him for a really good price on eBay.
And that's a
last
problem. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Not having a helmet.
Not having a helmet in space is a huge problem.
It was thoroughly explored in 2001, but yes.
Exactly. I was determined to get him one. So I did get him one. And that booth I got, it was Rick Plunkett's booth and at the back corner. I mean, I think of, let's say, accepting the fact that Derryl's booth was there and Greg's booth were there, it was the most exciting booth in the whole place because he had examples from every line of toy you can imagine from all sorts of eras. And one of the, he did some Major Matt Mason. He had some Joe stuff, and it was really funny because I found some of my little wrist communicators that I make for Cotswold in his display.
Oh, I saw that picture you posted,
which was kind of funny. But I think the most exciting thing he had was this AMT model of a Levicar, which is a model kit, very mid-century modern. I don't know when it came out, but it's incredibly rare. And he wanted $100 for it, and I wasn't going to do it. And but at the end of the show, he was going to offer me $75, and I just, I'd spent all my cash, and I said, I just don't need it. And that's the one thing I regret not buying, because that thing in its box, it's in there. It's all totally in there. It's partially assembled, but not fully assembled. And it is so rare and so beautiful. And it is from mid-century, which is like my wheelhouse. And I am kicking myself now. In fact, I've got his email, so I'm going to probably be emailing him after the show to see if I can't buy it and have him ship it to me. That's the thing I regret buying. But other than that, I mostly bought stuff from Cotswold because they have some beautiful outfits that go along with some of the stuff I'm doing. And even though I'm doing stuff for them, they're doing stuff besides that just fits into what I like. So I bought some stuff from Cotswold. I bought the last year's convention figure, the Toylanta figure, which is a Highland Warrior.
Oh,
I didn't get to get that one, and it's beautiful, full kilt. It's just lovely. I think that's all I bought, other than a few small things. But yeah, the thing I regretted the most was not buying that Levicar.
I'm looking at a picture of that now. That's a wild-looking model. I've never seen that before. It's from 1961.
I think it's cute. Yeah, it's cute. It's a one-man hover vehicle. And to me, back in the old days when I was playing with my Commodore 64, LucasArts came out with a game called Ball Blazer, in which you played two sides of a soccer field, and you played it inside this kind of hover vehicle, and it looks a lot like that. I would imagine that the vehicle they designed was based on that, although it's more curved. It's very similar.
This is actually based on an actual Ford concept car from 1959.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Of course.
I've never seen that before.
What was the concept
They did not
car?
invent the flying car in 1959, but
it's the Ford Levicar Mach 1.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
I will
And
post
I
it
am
in the,
kicking
chat.
myself now, sitting here and not having bought that today or yesterday.
Well, you can email them while you're
I'll
on the show.
email it.
Todd
I'll
does that
email
all
it
the
later.
time.
I do that all the time. In fact, I might have just done it just like a few minutes ago. So
No, I'll do it later.
Cool. Well, that sounds like a good time. Always
Yeah.
good for the toy show. I know we've been saying for years we got to get there.
we got to
and
get back there.
March is tough, but
Yeah,
It really is.
come on down.
Well-
I only live 2 hours away. You guys can all stay
now
with
that I
me.
know there's a Trader Vic's, maybe I'll definitely go.
And I did not
He's
know
like,
that.
Daryl's house? No. Trader Vic's? Yeah, I'll go.
You can get the pufferfish tiki mug.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice.
unfortunately, it was opposite PAX East, which is the big game convention here in Boston. And of course, I'm in the game industry, so I'd love to go to that thing. But it was the same. How inconsiderate of PAX East to hold this on the same day Toylanta was happening. I
I
don't know.
know. The nerve.
The nerve.
Okay. All right. Where do you want to go? We can't go for hours. Mando or Picard? Let's go Mando. There'll be spoilers. Barry, you can start.
You know, I know there was a little bit of dissension after the last episode that, you know, it was too much focused on, you know, the doctor story and not focused enough on Mando. And then when I saw this episode come up and I saw it was only 32 minutes, I was like, oh, why is it so short? I don't know about you guys. I thought this was one of the greatest episodes of Mandalorian ever. It was like
They've been
Covered a
packing
lot of ground in
into
30
the
minutes.
short
Yeah.
episodes.
It did not seem like 32 minutes.
Exactly, and it was it reminded me of the Boba Fett episode from I'm saying the Mando episode with Boba Fett in it, where it was previously the shortest episode. I think it was Robert Rodriguez directed it, and you were
Right.
like, that was 35 minutes. You know, it was like
Right.
because it was just all right there, pounding the whole time, and
Right.
that's where we really saw the first good use of the gaffy stick. And
there was just so much in it. I mean,
Oh, this
you
was-
had the
there was a
Grogu
lot
stuff.
going
You
on.
had
It
the,
was-
the storyline with Bo-Katan and the youngling being taken off by the dinosaur. You had so much information disseminated in
You
such
had-
a short
now-
episode.
Now these are spoilers, right? So
Yes.
So anybody who hasn't watched this episode, spoiler warning. You had the Grogu origin story.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
which is really kind of visualized. I mean, this was very much what was described to us. You know, we were told this. I think Ahsoka basically told this, but now we actually got to see it happen. And there was a very cool thing that they worked into how it happened. Barry, you want to explain that?
Well, so yeah, but in order to do that, I have to give a throwback to the Jedi Temple Challenge YouTube Kids TV series that was on. I feel like it was last year or the year before. It was a
Yep.
Legends of the Hidden Temple style game show with Ahmed Best as a Jedi host of the game show, and it was kids competing in challenges. Our friend Gordon was in it. He played the protocol style droid. Never in my wildest dreams did I think they would bring that character back and have that character, that Jedi, be the guy who rescued Grogu from the Jedi Temple. I mean, it was like
It was a character named Ahmed Medbeck, I think, something like that. Barry.
no,
Kelleran
it's
Beck.
Kelleran Beck.
Oh, Kelleran Beck, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
sorry.
they-
Ahmed Best played another character in Star Wars.
I was just going to say, yeah,
Yeah.
you kind. I mean, that's what I think is really cool is that this person now has I don't necessarily consider the game show a legitimate role within Star Trek, but he was Star Wars
or Star Wars.
or Star Wars, but he now has two roles, and you know, one may be the most derided, but this was a very cool
But
thing.
when I saw
Three,
that it was
yeah.
Ahmed Best as a Jedi, I didn't even connect that it was that the character had the same name as the host of that show. I just thought,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
they've put him in a Jedi costume. And then when I realized that, because I've said it before, I watched every episode of that with my son, and
Oh, you
he
did?
enjoyed it for what it was. And I watched
Yeah.
it partly because my friend Gordon was in it, but it was mildly entertaining. But the fact that it was the same character.
So for those
Yeah.
who don't know, Ahmed Best was Jar Jar Binks. He was
Yes,
the
yeah.
voice for Jar Jar
Yeah.
and the motion
And
capture.
the motion capture, one of the
Motion
first
capture
motion
actor.
capture performances.
So basically,
And-
he's become a friend of Lucasfilm to be
Right.
cast, you know, kind of like in that game show, and then cast in this role.
I think they feel like they owe him. He's been like,
As
you
they
know,
should, 'cause
he
he's-
took the most crap of
He
any
did.
character.
Dave,
He
when
took
we
a lot
met
of
him
heat.
in November, he had
Yeah.
obviously already filmed this, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he must have already filmed this when we met him in November.
yeah.
Or he, at least if he hadn't filmed it, he knew it was coming.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I think it was a redemption a long time coming. I think now he's a hero.
And you want to, he's been getting love. I remember even at the last celebration we went to, I guess that was Chicago. People definitely wanted to see him. I think everyone's matured while they hate the character, they don't want to hate on this guy. And I think it's just grown from there. And it's awesome that he, not only is he played a Jedi, but he's played a pivotal Jedi who's basically saved one of the most beloved characters now. It's awesome. Good for him.
It's awesome.
And then if I'm not wrong, also right after the Mando episode, he's in Bad Batch. So sorry, spoilers if you're not caught
I
up
haven't
on
watched
Bad Batch.
last week's episode yet, but that.
Now that Derryl has spoiled something,
Sorry.
he's always
Oh,
complained.
God,
No, it's
Daryl.
fine.
I don't mind. I
So
haven't
out of
seen it
line.
all either, and I don't mind at all.
If you're not watching Bad Batch, you totally should. This series is awesome.
I'm
I'm
waiting
not
for
the least
Sean
bit
to
caught
get
up,
that
but I
for 2
started.
years. So
I started when I started working out on my treadmill about a month or so ago, and I've been making my way through the episodes. And I
Yep.
really regret not getting the Micro Galaxy shuttle when it was on the shelf at Target in front of me, and now it's selling for like $4.50 on eBay.
Wow.
Jeez, whiz.
So another interesting kind of loop back
Wow.
to Jar Jar is the ship that rescued Grogu, the ship that he flew away in
Yeah.
was Senator Jar Jar's ship.
Well, we know it's the same model as
Right.
Padme's, right? We don't know
Right.
for sure that
But
it's
she's
his.
not there. She's no longer at that point.
Well,
she's
there's
not-
talk
At
about
that point in time, she is there. That's
that. They
literally
would talk
during
about
the
if
Order
she
66.
left and came back, and then he had time to take it. Where did I hear all this stuff?
Well, I mean,
from?
all we know now is it's a Naboo cruiser, right?
We
but
do know
it's
it's the Naboo
clearly
cruiser,
the
those are
same
Naboo
model. Yeah.
guards.
That's all we know
So-
right now, yeah.
Right, but
that
if
was
this
awesome.
was happening literally during the Order 66 assault on the Jedi Temple, she was still on Coruscant.
That makes sense. Yeah.
She was
Oh, no, it
watching
was the opposite. He
Jedi
could have
Temple
gone,
burn from her
and then
apartment.
it could have come back.
So you
and
think that was
for her to
Jar
leave.
Jar's ship? So the guy who plays Jar Jar saved Grogu from in Jar Jar. In the guy who
It
plays
would be
Jar
cool
Jar's
if
ship.
it was like a separate ship, like both senators had ships.
Oh, they for sure had their own
It
ship.
probably.
Well, and if you think about it, he was actually acting senator for her, right?
yes,
I mean,
that's
he
why I was.
went
Yeah.
in- yeah.
Yep.
But all of that is just the.
No matter
I know we
who it
use the
was.
word fan service in a derogatory way sometimes. That's the best kind of fan service. to
I
me.
think this
mean, I
week was
love it.
full of fan service as we get into
There was
our
a lot
next
of it.
topic too.
I don't see anything wrong with fan service. We're fans.
No.
When
One,
it's
one
done
of the
well.
one of the things that I really liked in this episode, getting out of that storyline, is I love as we get into the Mandalorians seeing things practically. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's like I love that, and I said this to you guys this week. I love that the jetpacks have practical limitations.
Mm.
That they're designed for tactical use, not transportation.
prolonged
Yeah.
flight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so it's so that you can jump up onto the walkways and you can
Yeah.
jump from rock and cropping to another, not so you can chase flying dinosaur things for endlessly, with no regard to fuel. And I thought that was great. I also thought the fact that they know these things are loud, and that was a limitation they had to work around. They couldn't sneak up with the jetpack. Stuff like that. It just makes sense. And instead of shoehorning something in later to make the plot work, they built on things that had already been established.
My favorite scene, I watched the episode twice. My favorite little moment, which is a blink and you miss it thing, but when they go up to the nest and the babies are there, and then the mommy pterodactyl thing comes back, she opens her mouth and growls, and you don't see the kid. She coughed that kid up
Yeah.
from
Oh,
her
Oh
stomach.
yeah,
she
Oh,
did.
yeah, no, she did.
And then she's dangling it over like she's going to feed them. And I burst out laughing when that
And the
happened.
kid
That
was
such a
still
good
That is
line.
alive.
what certain birds have have a little sack where they collect things that they
Yeah.
then push back out, and it was the same thing.
Oh, it was
Just
awesome.
that whole sequence. I mean,
Well, it makes no sense to keep them alive at all, unless the whole point is you have to feed live meat to the
I
birds.
bet that's what it is.
Right.
Which
I bet,
is what
I
it
bet
is,
they're,
right? To teach
I
them to
bet they're
hunt,
more
like kittens
tasty
do.
in their shell when you break them out of their Mando shell.
It's like cats teach their kittens to hunt live mice because
Yeah.
that's what they need to do for life, right?
so here's a question that maybe will be answered by the end of the season, maybe not. Why did they take the 3 baby birds?
No reason
That
except
was-
for compassion. Because Barry,
Oh
literally,
no! Oh
they
no!
would-
those
would
are
die
They're
on
gonna
the
ride
road.
them.
You saddle those babies, and those are going to be badass.
If you can
Either
train
that or
them,
they're gonna
but we
eat
don't know
them.
that.
They're
Thing
gonna
is,
train-
you can't leave them there. They would die, and that would upset a lot of people. That's like killing a beagle in an action movie for some reason.
The Mandalorians
Not quite the
are
same.
are
Yeah.
sensitive to orphaned.
Exactly.
You know,
Culturally,
They're going to
they
ride
don't
those
leave
things,
orphans
though,
behind.
no doubt.
But also, I think we're not going to see those things again for like 2 years. And when we do, they're going to have saddles on their backs, and they're going to be swooping in, like shooting flames, and it's like it's
Can
going
you
to.
imagine if Paz Vizsla's riding on one of those with that giant
Oh
machine
my
gun?
God!
thing
And,
he
and that's
Okay.
exactly what they're going to do. They're going to.
Now I have something. Now I have something to look forward to because now it better happen, Todd.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was great to see that, regardless of bringing Ahmed Best back. It's cool to see Grogu's rescue, but the fact that they did it with him is just. I wonder if we'll see him again.
And they did it on a bark speeder, which is a really cool
it was
vehicle
really
that
cool.
you don't see a lot of. And they did it chase through Coruscant. And it was they echoed some of the things we had seen in the previous episode with the Doctor. Like they went to that same
Yes.
town square on I just loved every minute of it.
This was a rich episode.
Yeah.
Very, very expensive.
Lily,
episode.
My
One more-
assumption is that the Jedi Knight died, like in rescuing Grogu, but we didn't see it. But I assume that.
Actually, no. I think
Oh.
I kind of spoiled it. What happens, next? But I
Because
do
he shows
believe-
up on Bad Batch, and that's spoiler.
I do believe that they bring him into Bad Batch because I didn't watch the episode twice or go back, but I think that the Doctor on Bad Batch references him. So there's some continuity, and that was cleverly planned. So they appeared in the same the same day basically.
On the same day, yeah.
Yeah, continuity between the series, which is pretty darn cool, I would say.
One more image to leave in your head with those little flying dinosaur things, whatever we're going to call them. Imagine the TIE fighter doing just like the slow strafing run when one of those babies just flies down and latches onto it. It's going to be amazing. It's
Well,
going
and
to be
how
amazing.
about the Apocalypse Now throwback image of
Oh my
the
God,
ship
yes.
flying? Oh,
Yep.
it's great.
Yeah. Just
So
great.
this episode, I think, was a validation of something I think you guys, the Joes, talked about last week's episode. That when the Mandalorian went into the waters to kind of be redeemed, I was kind of tricked. Like I thought that the story arc they were doing is the Mandalorian being redeemed so he could be ingratiated back into the tribe and maybe become leader and the Darksaber. Really, it seems like a vehicle for Bo-Katan,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So
To be redeemed and then brought into the tribe.
So
Yeah,
this is my question. When you say the Mandalorian, does that necessarily mean you're talking about Din Djarin?
Yeah, Din Djarin. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Din Djarin.
yeah, but I'm saying the Mandalorian. She could be the Mandalorian.
Well,
Okay.
any of them
I mean,
could
the
be,
title
which
of this show could basically be the equivalent of like Highlander. It could be the last person standing.
Except that he's called Mando. It's just that's he's known as the Mandalorian around
brief-
town, and he's
Right.
known as
but,
Mando.
but I'm saying it's like
I
this
was
is-
thinking the same thing, Todd, and I was thinking how much of this story is hers now, but then it's still him and Grogu.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's
him and
still
Grogu.
like 75% of
Right.
what's going on in
But
this story.
We
That
could
also
ultimately
limits where
see
they
her
can-
restored to some kind of leadership role on Mandalore, and maybe that's a place we go back to every now and
Oh, I
then.
think so.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to shift the lead focus.
Oh, I don't think so either.
No, I
but
think
I
that'll
also
be a
think it's
separate arc.
possible to have episodes that are focused just on her. Is what I'm saying.
She could have her own series. I'd watch it.
She could have her own series, but there was actually a rumor of that. There was what is her name?
Katie Sackhoff?
No, I'm not.
Emily Swallow.
Well,
No,
wait.
hold on. Ming-Na Wen
Oh yeah.
sent a tweet congratulating Katie on getting her own series, and then pulled it down.
And then they took
Getting
it
her
down.
own Star Wars series, and then
Oh.
pulled it down.
That's a plant.
So this is a replacement for the
And
Ranger
this was like
series.
Rangers
2 months.
of
This is
the
like
Old
no, like 2
Republic,
months
yeah.
ago. Congratulations on getting your own Star Wars series, and then it was pulled down.
Yeah,
Well,
but
she's-
remember, she thought she was filming Mandalorian when she was doing Boba Fett. So what does she know?
So yeah, exactly. So she's
So basically, Bo-Katan has become Ronin because they destroyed her castle. when she was sitting there petulantly in her castle.
Not
and then
unlike the beginning of John Wick 2. I'm just saying.
Right, exactly. And then those random TIE fighter things, which have never been readdressed, right? The TIE fighter armada just destroyed it, right?
I'm sure we'll get back to that at some point.
Maybe, I don't know.
All right, moving right along, because we have to move right along. We're going to Picard. We're covering a lot of ground, everybody.
There will be spoilers.
Picard,
I will tell you, there will be spoilers.
There will be spoilers.
We're spoiling
especially for Darryl who hasn't seen an episode. But I got to say, I think we could have our best week of Star Trek and Star Wars. There was another
our star-crossed episode.
decades.
This was an intersection of the best of both.
Yeah, I think so.
When the previous Mando episode was about 11 minutes of Mando, and this was like 30 some odd minutes of awesome. Yeah, I think Picard was. I think the previous episode was the best episode until this one.
No, this was great, and this was total fan service. There was just buckets of fan service here,
Yeah.
all in a good way, though.
And the thing is, though, this was the episode where I really felt like they have a tremendous handle on who these characters are. Okay, the interaction between the characters works. They're working humor in a nice way, but they're also, it's like Geordi was pissed off for all the reasons that Geordi should be pissed off, and the captain and Captain Dickhead, okay, who wouldn't give the time of day to Riker or Picard is in awe when he meets Geordi.
Yeah, that was great.
And that was terrific. And that's good. It should be. Okay. Just like if he met Montgomery Scott, it's like there's engineers admire engineers.
I think his name was Captain Shaw, not Captain.
Yeah, Captain Shaw.
Captain. Okay. Yeah.
But
in
yeah,
the early draft,
they covered
in
there's
the
so much
early
good
draft,
stuff.
he was Captain Dickhead.
It was great. This was, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the first episode where all of the characters were involved, right? Like we had the whole original crew back.
Yeah,
I think
right?
just
They
about
were all in
everybody.
it.
Yeah, I think
Were they all in it?
When they slid Deanna in at the end, yes.
Yeah.
That completed it. Yep.
Yeah.
Which we never got in the Star Wars prequel movies, I just gotta say it. Or sequel movies.
Oh no, they never brought everybody all together at the same time.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I think that again, like I said, they're not taking themselves too seriously, but they're doing. I love when, Worf announces that he prefers pacifism.
Yeah.
Riker just says, "Oh yeah, we're all going to die."
I thought that this episode had the scene that was the scene I've been waiting for 20 years, or that was the scene with Ro and Picard, or was that the previous episode?
That was the previous
that was
week.
That was the previous
Yep.
episode. So I'm glad that happened. But in this episode, there will be spoilers, as Derryl said. Just the stuff we saw on Daystrom Station
Oh my
was
God!
like a kickback to so many
my
cool
God.
things. We
Yep.
saw the Genesis device. We know that Kirk's body is aboard.
Yeah, that's what I want. What's that all about? Why
Well-
would Kirk's body be there?
We have a theory. Oh, Todd has a theory. But there's also, I think we saw the Tholian ship in the back, as well, of course, as the attack.
There's a lot. Kirk's body.
I need to go back and
remember,
rewatch
Kirk
this
was
'cause I
time
missed a lot of that.
displaced. Kirk was time displaced. Okay, so they may have wanted to study him for some reason, whatever.
Well, right. I mean, realistically, Kirk died in the future because he got taken in the Nexus.
Yeah,
Yes,
So he
and that's what I'm
died
saying.
in the Next Generation era.
he did. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
so
And that's like I said. So there's a weird thing with his body. The ships, I was just geeking out on.
whoa, wait, back to
Mhm.
bodies for a second before we go to the ships.
Yeah.
But the whole reason they broke into, they stole Picard's body.
original body.
Now, what do you think that ties into?
Oh, absolutely. So this is
The
let me
Borg?
just do this quick. Okay. Yes. Okay. Borg Queen is dead. Okay. There's a ton of Borg ships parked somewhere that no one has any control over. Okay. Locutus's DNA may hold the key to that.
Hmm,
Now,
that makes
who
sense.
has Locutus's DNA?
That's
Well,
what I was thinking.
Picard does not have
Because
Locutus's
he's got
DNA,
that new plastic
'cause he's
body.
synthetic.
Synthetic now.
but to some degree, his son does.
His son does.
Some,
Okay.
but not a match.
So, no, not a match.
match.
But if you can take dead Picard's DNA and somehow fuse it to his son,
Yeah.
to complete that,
You have new Locutus.
you have
But
new
why do
Locutus,
the changelings want the Borg?
because they
Because
want to
they're
destroy
teamed
the
up with the Borg.
Federation.
They're teamed
They're
up with
not
the Borg
powerful
now.
enough to
Oh,
do
that's
it.
right.
But they on Frontier Day, if every existing Borg thing that's sitting out in limbo right now shows up, just kind of like a wormhole opens and they just pop up, it would be, and that's their end thing.
Right,
Yeah,
which
they're
is
not-
why
they're
Geordi's
not
telling
happy.
them not to put every ship in the fleet in one
Yep.
place at one time.
And
I
he's been
think-
warning them. Yep.
I think these changelings, okay, never recovered from the virus. Okay, supposedly the Federation gave them the antidote. I don't think they ever recovered. I think they are sustaining themselves by basically like co-opting human hosts or something like that. I think there's a reason that they're showing
That
human
their
tissue.
abilities are
Oh,
different.
it's entirely possible the virus was responsible for their evolution. That lets
Right,
them
but I'm saying there's something.
emulate
There's
better.
something
And they've
that-
never
and
gotten over the war.
Right,
And,
and there's
you know
not-
they're going to come back.
These are not happy people.
No,
And
they're very unhappy.
particularly Amanda Plummer's character, who just randomly shoots everyone to prove she's bad. But yeah, no, I think that's what it is. I think it's a Locutus.
That's what I
tie-in.
was thinking. As soon as they said his body, I'm like, it's got to be
when,
Borg.
when Sean and I were talking about this, remember when Picard went back among the recovered all the Borg that had been deborgified? Okay,
Mhm.
they all now Picard's had all his tech taken out. Every single one of them recognized him as Locutus.
I don't
by
remember
DNA
that.
by DNA tag.
And that's what I'm saying. They are it's embedded in his, like I said, that control capability is embedded in who he was. And I think that's what we're going to see. So, and I may be completely wrong, but
No, that makes sense. I definitely had to be Borg. What else?
I
Especially
love
why would Shaw have
Oh, yeah,
referenced
yeah.
it?
I love the use of Moriarty. I love the use of the bounty.
I thought it'd be more extensive than that, but that was cool.
It was
That's
perfect.
all you need.
I love the use of the bounty. I actually
Yeah.
I liked the Pop Goes the Weasel thing. I thought that was kind of cool. It was, the using that tone and doing the little callback to the first episode and the first introduction between Riker and Data. And also that Riker is a musician, so that the musical tones, he would
I
identify.
don't remember that at all.
He was a trumpet player or a
No, it was a
trombone,
trombone player.
Right,
Trombone
yeah.
It was Encounter
Rusty
at Starpoint.
trombone player.
When Picard when the crew first meet each other, when
Yep.
Riker first
Yep.
meets Data, and they flash back in this episode to the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
And we were speculating at the beginning of all this how they were going to bring Brent Spiner back, knowing he didn't want to wear the makeup, knowing he wouldn't look like Data, and I think they found a really
It's
good
a
way-
little forced, but it's fine. That
but they
have
found a
new
way to do
guy.
it where it works.
The way to do it.
But think
And
about
he's
it.
got-
That,
he's
you know,
got
he's old
projector
because-
eyes. How cool is that?
Remember when Riker meets Data? What does Data say? I just want to be a real boy. And I think this is Data finally getting his wish.
Yep. No, that's a really good point.
But between you so far we've got Data, we got Geordi, we got Moriarty,
Not to
and
mention
then
Geordi's kids. One of the women who plays Geordi's kid is really LeVar Burton's
Yeah.
kid.
The daughter with the fewer lines. Yes.
Yeah, the one who
It's his
comes
actual
in-
daughter.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Stationed
Yeah,
on the
yeah, I
ship
read
with
that,
him.
too.
That's his actual daughter, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was great. I also like that he's got two kids floating around instead of everybody having one obligatory child, which seems to be the narrative norm.
Well,
he's got one that
Deanna,
he's got
Deanna and
issues
Riker
with.
did have two at one point.
No, I know that, but there's one,
Yeah.
there's one, so it's again, I think this, yes, there was a lot of fan service here, but I will tell you, just getting to the Starfleet Museum, which has been referenced going back to the Relics episode that Scotty was in of Next Generation, the Starfleet Museum, they're saying having Geordi having visited a Constitution class there. I did figure out the Constitution class, the USS New Jersey, is actually NCC 1975 was for the show Runner was born in New Jersey in 1975. That's
But why wouldn't they make it one of the
I have
original
no idea.
12?
They've also
That makes no sense.
they've named planets after this guy and they've done other things like that. It's just what they do. But it should have been.
I mean, I'm
it
assuming
should
there
have been
was
one of
more
the
than
surviving
12.
ships, except one of the surviving. Most of those surviving ships were probably refit. So this may be like made of leftover parts or something. Who knows? Anyways, but it was cool seeing all the ships.
All the Defiant. Where's the E? Is the E decommissioned or just blown up?
I think
Or
we may still see the E because we actually saw it. I think we saw it in Barry in Prodigy when all the ships showed up.
Yeah.
So it seems to be.
I was thinking they were gonna get off the Titan and onto something else, but it was cool that they did.
It was cool.
I didn't think they were going to take the cloaking device from the Klingon ship. I thought they were going to take the Klingon ship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Went
Yeah.
the other way.
That would have been a lot more
And it's
complicated.
funny that's the episode that played on MeTV or whatever. Wasn't it the one where he had to steal the cloaking device?
Oh, the Enterprise incident.
Yeah.
It's Enterprise. Yeah. I thought that was great. The interesting the refit of the NX-01 is what's on display there, which is a kind of continuity break from the last episode of Enterprise, which makes me want to believe that whole thing was a dream, but or a simulation, as the case was. But it's really cool. Doug Drexler's design for the final season that never happened of Enterprise with an engineering hull was actually used, and what was on display there.
We saw Voyager.
Voyager was there.
Defiant.
I loved the way they had that scene with Jerry Ryan explaining to. It was perfect doing it with the two of them. You know, the temptation, I'm sure, always is to work in the original series characters or the next generation characters and have them do all the. But that was great. I mean, her life is so tied up in that ship, and his having been fascinated with ships despite his rejection of
and him saying, "I've always been a Constitution class guy." I mean, that was a great line.
Let's not forget Janeway's out there, and she's kind of being protected from being seen by infiltrators. So we're going to see her at some point. Yeah, that's nice, Todd.
Yeah, I love it.
So
for
good
the viewers,
episode
Todd
all
is
around.
showing
2 good
the refit of
episodes.
the NX-01.
Yeah, refit.
Beautiful. I like that better than the original design.
Yeah. Oh yeah, much better.
Well, it looks more like a Star Trek ship.
It ties in. It ties in beautifully with the original design.
I absolutely adore it.
Yeah.
All right, that's Star Trek. Hopefully they keep on being equally as good. Alrighty, who still has what's in the box
Speaking
to
of
do?
Star Trek, Barry.
Yeah, well, Todd and I both have a figure. Unlike usual where it's a Hot Toys figure, in this case it's an X-06 figure, but we both got Benjamin Sisko from Deep Space Nine.
With the Blade Runner glass. I am envious.
With the Blade Runner glass.
Continuing your
that?
focus on Captain.
They use that glass
did they? I didn't
multiple times in the
realize that.
series.
Yeah, he has that glass.
Yeah.
Look at that cool
That's so
glass.
funny.
It's, I mean, we've been
that's-
talking a lot about their figures and the fact that they've been so good, and this is another great example. I mean, the likeness on this guy is really amazing. They went out of their way to pad the body to give it the right, sort of size. The accessories are, there was 2 versions of this figure. I think there was sort of the basic version, and then the one that we got has all the accessories.
Technically, the standard version is the deluxe version, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, there's like the standard deluxe version, and then there's like a stripped down version. But most of the accessories, like we always say, we'll probably never use. But this one, I'm posing in with the phaser rifle, which is really cool.
The phaser rifle's great. You get a second tunic and a vest.
There's some interesting little bits, aren't there? Because
You get another. Why would you have another shirt, another tunic?
Because what's under the jacket is just, I believe it's just like a short sleeve. It's just to fit under the jacket, so the sleeves aren't too bulky.
No, that's funny because Picard. I put the vest on Picard.
I think I'm going to do exactly the opposite, Dave. I think I'm going to leave him like this and put the vest on Picard.
Yeah, I put the vest on Picard, but he wears the same shirt, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, that's a good looking
It's just
figure.
I mean, they've been knocking it out of the park with their Star Trek line, and I'm still being very choosy about it and picking and choosing the ones I like. But everyone I've seen has been phenomenal. So
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
getting better and better.
Really great
true.
job.
I was going to ask something about them. I don't remember. No, I don't remember.
If you need a 1/6 scale baseball, he comes with one.
No, I need him to make my Hawk from Spencer Fryer.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So
Baseball, it's funny. So, Darryl, you went. Sean, do you have what's in the box?
I do have a what's in the box. Over the last several months, well, back in the 90s, I used to collect the Galoob Action Fleet Star Wars vehicles, and I have dozens of those, and they're beautiful. But they're very toy-like. A few months back, maybe half a year ago now, Micro Galaxy Squadron is a new line of Star Trek ships, Star Wars ships that are a little bit smaller than the Action Fleet, but the detail is fantastic, and the function is really cool. And in the box this week, like I've got, it started. I got the Mandalorian ship first, the Razor Crest first. Then I got the Millennium Falcon. Then I got the X-wing. I got the Snow Speeder. I got an A-wing, which is apparently very valuable, and I found it on the shelf. I found Moff Gideon's TIE Fighter with the folding wings. I bought 2 standard TIE Fighters so I could pose it next to Darth Vader's TIE Fighter for the trench run, which they sell, by the way. They sell a 4-pack with the trench run and a TIE Fighter, with an X-wing. But this week I got the Imperial Troop Transport.
Oh, cool.
Barry knows the story of that and told it on this show once, which is because it was a toy that actually showed up in the show, and now it's another toy based on the toy that was in the show that was based on the toy.
It's very meta. Very
it's
meta.
Really nicely detailed. The detail's great. The lid pops up in 2 ways. The roof pops up in front, and then it pops up in back as well. So there's 2 sections of roof. I can't get it up right now. And it comes. All the troop doors open so that the troops can stand there, and one goes into the one of the doors goes on into the interior, which you can see inside. My big peeve with that, it has a rotary gun on the top and 2 ball joint guns up front. Nice little translucent windshield. My complaint is there are 6 places to put stormtroopers, not to mention the cockpit and the interior. It comes with 2 stormtroopers, which I was a bit upset about. But the real treat in the same box was the Bo-Katan's scythe, is it?
Ooh, yep.
No, gauntlet.
Yeah.
She has the gauntlet. The detail on this is you're just not going to believe. This is like Bandai model kit detail, and it has function, of course. So the wings flip up 90 degrees. We get a landing gear comes down. The cockpit opens up, and there's a 1-inch Bo-Katan in there, which comes out, of course, and she has articulation. And the interesting thing is when you close the wings, or anytime, I guess, the body also rotates 90 degrees. Now, I don't know why it does that, because I haven't
that is cool.
I
I've
haven't
never seen it do
90
that, right?
degrees, and so it transports vertically like so. And now the one thing that's interesting is in the series, thanks to the recent episodes, they feature the back port pretty prominently, because a gun turret comes out of there, and this is actually rotated wrong. It's 90 degrees off, and you can say, hey, well, if I turn it this way, it's fine, but they don't do that. But so that's like the only mistake in here. But honestly, this is the most detailed and spectacular of all the ships, and I include that against the Millennium Falcon and any of the others. I didn't even know this ship until I bought it, because I didn't watch. I watched some of the animated series, and I watched some with Bo-Katan in it, but I did not see anything with this ship in it.
Have we
So
seen
now
that?
suddenly it's in Mandalorian. So
Have we seen that at hyperspeed yet? Because I wonder whether that's when it goes sideways.
it's possible, and I don't know, because we've seen her go from planet to planet, and we've seen her, chase a dragon, but I don't know what it's like when she goes into hyperspace. And in the same box today came the shuttle from Andor, the Inquisitor shuttle. I haven't even opened this yet, so I can't talk about it much. But just looking at it from the outside, it looks like it's very detailed, and it comes with the 3 Inquisitors. So I will open that at another time. But I have been so thrilled with this new line that I just can't even say how wonderful it is.
That's a very exciting line, Sean. I got a couple
beautiful.
of vehicles at the beginning. I got the Razor Crest, and then I got a Saj Ventress's vehicle, and I went and dug my whole box of Action Fleet out of storage.
Oh, I have some up on my shelf. Yeah, but not the whole collection.
I couldn't wait to like combine them and compare the scale. And then to your point, I was very disappointed to find that they're not. The figures aren't the same scale. They're they're smaller and noticeably smaller.
Oh, and another pet peeve is so far no C-3PO. Of all the figures they've done, there's not yet been a C-3PO.
Yeah, yeah.
Tons of R2s, no C-3PO.
So basically, I decided if they were the same scale, I would have been so excited. I would have added it to my Action Fleet. Because they're not the same scale, I decided I think I'm not gonna leap in and collect all these. I'm gonna be done with it. And on the other side, I decided to sell my Action Fleet because I didn't have a complete collection of Action Fleet.
Oh, I don't either, but I would never sell them. It's about 2/3, I think. Like the original Snow Speeder from the Action Fleet is quite a bit larger than this.
They're noticeably smaller. The figures are as well. They don't go together.
A-wing, although this is the A-wing from one of the animated series, not the original line.
So it seemed like a lost opportunity for me, because things like Razor Crest, you can actually cheat the scale. But the things you're holding up, the cost difference of making those is small.
Yeah.
And I think they would have had a much more appreciation from fans if they did make them compatible with the Action Fleet scale.
I mean, would that tooling still have been around that they could have reused some of those?
No, they couldn't use that.
That's
Barry.
all. No, okay.
The
there's
Action
so
Fleet,
many
as much
ships
as I
that
love
they had
them,
made over the years in the Action Fleet line. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, so
they're
the
very
Action Fleet
bulky and
tooling
toy-like, though.
the Action Fleet tooling is controlled by Hasbro, and Lucasfilm, as far as I know, has not asked Hasbro to transfer tools over to another factory, and they would never allow access to their factory from. Who's doing this new line? Is it Jazzwares?
Yes, I think that's right.
see, and that's where I just assumed it was Hasbro.
Jazzwares. No,
It's Jazzwares.
Oh, okay.
Jazzwares.
So that's why my brain went to the tooling, because I assumed it was Hasbro making them. I haven't bought any of them yet, so I haven't.
I'll say the larger ships, though, the play value far exceeds, I think, the Action Fleet. The Millennium Falcon comes apart in multiple pieces. There's a little escape hatch under the door. The detail's incredible. It's fully lights and sound when you push the buttons. The Razor Crest doesn't have lights and sounds, but it's got really nice features. And the Slave One comes with all these features as well, and they're all very nice. Each one comes with a little piece of carbonite. Well, that's not true. Boba's ship comes with a rack for carbonite, but it holds a weapon rack instead. The Razor Crest has the first alien we see in carbonite, but there's no Han Solo in carbonite, so I 3D printed one. So now I have one that fits inside the Slave One and it comes. And the stupid thing is, the two racks are of different sizes, so I had to make two Han Solos.
Oh, that's
one
funny.
to fit the Razor Crest and one to fit the to Boba's ship. But I love this line, and I'm really looking forward to the TIE Interceptor, the Bomber, and some others. But they've been focusing lately on the newer movies. So the next line actually has like 3 or 4 repaints of the Jedi Starship instead of doing some of the cooler ships. There's no Y-Wing. I don't know what they're thinking, but I do love it.
Todd's online buying them right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you
am.
should be.
I
You should be.
could see.
Get on there.
They're
Dave,
well
I think
done.
you're the only one that hasn't gone.
Yeah, and mine is incredibly obscure, and actually something I think only you're going to even appreciate, because I was listening to the Dreams Are Made of podcast. Not I listened to both, but they did. And here's a Frank Miller Batman original art now. Derryl, do you listen to that podcast?
I do, and I'm caught up. Yeah.
Okay, so they talked about clapperboards, and I'm like, where are all my old clapperboards? Because I don't have anything great at all. Believe me, I don't.
Come on, you got to have a mermaid's one there.
I don't. And you know I see. It's interesting because they were talking about either the director or the director of photography keeping the clapperboards, and that's not true. It's the first camera assistant, or in this case, the second camera assistant who kept the clapperboards.
I'll take the Hudson Hawk one.
Well, I didn't have I do. Well, this is the Hudson Hawk one, but then I used it on a movie called Run afterwards. So this is actually the last one I had. Not this. This is a movie called Run with Patrick Dempsey, but and I forgot this, and of course I made my own clapperboards, as you would think I would, because most clapperboards, and this is, again, we'll put pictures up on Instagram. Most clapperboards, the sticks, as we call them, are made out of pine, and they get beaten up. And I made mine out of oak. So this is very worn. This, you can see the inside is all worn out. But this is the last one that I read. This is all the way back to 1990. I worked on this movie Run.
That's cool.
So that's one. I mean, I really don't have anything good. This is the TV series I worked on. Now, this was all 14 episodes. We used this clapper. Again, another Dave Pisani homemade one.
Oh, Tattingers?
Tattingers.
Oh yeah, with
Stephen Collins.
with Will Decker. Yep.
Of Decker and potentially prison fame. But so this is from '89. So
Those
this
are
was it.
cool,
All the
man.
episodes of that. And we had a different director every week, so you could see this is done with a piece of tape. I would put their names on with tape. This was our camera. He passed away, but rest in peace. This was a camera.
So Dave, it was your responsibility as the camera assistant. Is that what you're saying?
The camera assistant, there's usually 2 or 3 camera assistants. First camera assistant is the guy who pulls the focus on the camera, and it does that kind of stuff. Second camera assistants usually reload the cameras, and I was like a camera trainee on a bunch of stuff. And I would be the guy who would be doing the slate most of the time. So it'd be like, you'd say, scene 21A, take 3, that kind of thing. So I'm on a lot of cutting room floors holding the slate doing that. I did every single shot in Mermaids. I don't have that slate. I know the first camera guy.
So I'm super curious about you made them and you brought them to set. Was that your responsibility, or did you do that to make sure that you took them home because they were yours?
No, normally, back then it was normally before the beginning of a movie or a TV series, you'd put a list together of all the stuff you'd need. And back then, and still now, I guess, accounts were set up with different places. We literally had there was an old hardware store in New York that basically supplied the whole film industry with everything they needed, from tools to, they did $1 million, and this is back in the 90s, $1 million in tape alone. This camera and gaffer's tape. They did like ridiculous amount, and there was always, like everything, and this is the statute of limitations is expired, but you would be like, I need 40 rolls of tape for the next 6 months, and then you'd go back and be like, all right, for 10 of those rolls, give me this instead, and I'll keep that for myself. There's always scams going on. So rolls of tape back then even were $20 a roll. So tape was, anyway, so
wow.
But you would get what you call expendables, usually from Panavision or General Camera, where we got our cameras from, and they'd sell you all the camera stuff that were slates, but normally I'd bring my own slate. But how many times I would reuse a slate and peel everything off and then, use it again. So there's lots of that. And then here's
I never knew. I learned from listening to that podcast that there's different sizes for different uses. Like, I had no idea. I thought they were
those little
novelty
insert
slates.
ones. This is actually the second one I built. I have another one downstairs that I used for college. That has my student film. I still have the thing, but this is one. There are layers of tape for a bunch of different movies I worked on. I don't necessarily want to peel them off because this tape just turns to dust as you peel it off.
Yeah.
But this was a really small independent movie I worked on. It's called
Charlie
Distribution of
Chan.
Lead. But this guy, Paul Cameron, the cameraman, we were both, I'll tell you, interesting enough. I worked on this. I was a camera assistant. This guy, Paul Cameron, he's shot like The Dark Knight Returns and like many big movies. So he went places. And in fact, I always remember the guy who was the sound guy on this little independent movie, Mark Weingarten, just won his third Academy Award. He was just on the Oscars and won an Academy Award. So they've all made it, and I'm doing this. But it's funny. There's another one of the productions under this tape I did is Troma's War. I worked on
Troma.
Yeah, but this was a weird one that I made because instead of the dry erase, it has Velcro, and you'd have all the Velcro numbers.
Oh, that's cool.
The problem, it was good, but the problem was that the Velcro was too noisy. So it was something and then you'd put sound tape 6 and whatever. So that's, I'll put pictures of this on Instagram. I have one other one downstairs, but another interesting I found when I was
innovation. Good
through
job.
my box. That's why this is what's in the box. When I did work on Hudson Hawk, and I think I told the story, I worked on the plates unit. So we were going to do all the special effects, and they were running plates on the Brooklyn Bridge to potentially composite other stuff into it. And I worked with the unit from Industrial Light and Magic. And here are Industrial Light and Magic camera reports. They had their own little camera reports, and it's got their address up here.
Oh, wow.
I have extras if you guys want one, but I thought that was cool. These would probably sell in a prop store auction for a couple $100, which is ridiculous because they're from ILM. But as you may or may not remember, I worked with the Empire camera on this particular Hudson Hawk shoot, and that was the camera that filmed a lot of Empire Strikes Back. So anyway, that's a long story.
I hope you kept that camera.
That camera is in a museum. I mean, it was the camera they built for Empire, the effect shots on Empire Strikes Back, and then we used it on Hudson Hawk. But anyway, so listen to the Props podcast. They go through a guy who collects these clapper boards, and these are things that used to go for $100, and now they're going for tens of thousands of dollars, like everything else.
Yeah. Especially on the big
movies, the aliens and stuff like that, and all that stuff. So, that's my Slate story.
Awesome.
I'm glad you finally dug them out. They weren't in a shed like those guys were talking about on this podcast.
They were not in a shed. They were in a box in the basement.
Okay. Well, not in the attic where most of your stuff.
No, the newest one was in the attic because I still have my camera bag, and it smells like mold and mildew. It's been sitting there for 33 years. That's the last thing I worked on, 1990. Anyway.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Awesome.
Damn it! I thought I was going to get the Hudson Hawk slate in your will.
No, I worked on a tiny little piece of that. They filmed all over the world. There were
I don't
probably
care. You worked on
slates.
Hudson Hawk. I love Hudson Hawk.
Well, the funny thing is,
I am the one.
These guys are saying that they film movies. Oh, there's all the slates in. There's 10 slates. When every single shot of mermaids was one slate or clapperboard, as they called it. There are not multiples. Certainly back then, we had one camera and one thing.
But most of the movies that they're talking about are big sci-fi action
exactly,
movies.
Exactly.
So,
but anyway, The Godfather, I bet, had one.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
And that's the guy I worked with on Hudson Hawk. He was the first camera assistant. I was the second camera assistant with this ILM unit. He was the guy who was Gordon Willis's first assistant on all his stuff. So his freaking shed has a lot of stuff, I guarantee.
You should make some phone calls. That's how you get the stuff, Dave. Call your old buddies.
I'm not that guy. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you, Derryl. Thank you, Sean, for joining us. We went longer than I thought. Not longer than I thought we would, but jam-packed episode.
About right. Yeah. This is about what I expected.
Next week, I'm sure it'll be Mando and Picard and maybe John Wick if everyone or some people see it. Derryl, you're always welcome back if you saw it. Happy to talk John Wick. And that's it. Any last thoughts? Oh, no one wants to hear that question.
Nobody died this week, Barry?
Nope. Well, I mean,
you're like the Grim Reaper, the Harbinger.
There were some tragedies today that we won't go into, but
there is.
Nashville.
Yeah, school.
Oh well, that's a horrible. That's
yeah.
That's always bad.
Again.
But other than that, no. You know what? I have a last thought, real quick. Not death related. So you guys know what this is. This is a vintage Mego Star Trek Gorn figure.
Gorn, yes.
That I have
inexplicably wearing a Klingon outfit from the animated series. Yeah,
exactly. So I have this currently for sale, and this is why I get so frustrated. I should have gone to Toylanta and set up a table. This is why I get so frustrated selling stuff. So this is posted for sale. I had one guy contact me to say, and I quote, "Way too high. This ain't 1990. It's Biden's economy. You're going to get $8 if you're lucky." And then the other guy that commented to me said, "That's a Gorn head on a Klingon body." And I had to explain to him, no, this is actually the way they sold this toy.
And he said, "And what's Mego?"
Oh my God, Biden's economy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I thought the Biden's economy line was great. So
he's affecting toys.
Biden's
look at the
and
50-year-old toys. That's the
and if you don't have something nice to say,
well, that you've summed up the internet. If you have something nasty to say, please write it in the comments.
Yeah. So I thought you guys of all my friends would appreciate those.
They
comments.
all suck. Everyone sucks.
I appreciate that. eBay is rough and frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have one last thought. I just want to say thanks to the organizers, the dozens of people I talked to, Derryl, of course, the many people that arranged Toylanta this year. I had a blast, and I just want to make sure I send a shout out to all those guys. They were amazing.
Awesome. Great.
They were great.
Perfect way to end.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And thanks for listening.